The Walking Dead Season 7 was the start of The Walking Dead's slow downfall. This was the season that started the slow killing of The Walking Dead, where this was the beginning of fans leaving to stop watching the show. So, therefore, that led to me saying, what if I rewrote The Walking Dead Season 7? I rewrote every episode of The Walking Dead Season 7, and this is my rewrite of The Walking Dead Season 7 Episode 1. The day will come when you won't be. This is my version, and this is how The Walking Dead Season 7 Episode 1 will play out if I was the writer. There will be stuff that are almost the same as the actual episode, but there are actually going to be changes that I will change. So, for example, there will be stuff that happened in that I added that did not happen in the show, but there will also still be stuff that are the same, but will still have my bit of change, and I kind of remixed a little bit of the dialogue and the storyline. So, let's talk about my rewrite of The Walking Dead Season 7 Episode 1. The day will come when you won't be. So, of course, we start off the episode of Rick. Just as usual, Rick has blood splattered on his face, and Negan walks up to Rick to taunt Rick about who he killed. And Negan mentions how Rick no longer has the right hand man, and basically Negan talks about how Rick now does not have a right hand man, and he is now powerless with no right hand man. And yeah, Rick threatens Negan as usual by telling him, I'm gonna kill you. Not today, not tomorrow, but I will kill you. Negan smiles at Rick after he says that. He drags Rick into the RV. Then we see the unknown person on the floor with a bashed head, giving us the mystery on who just got bashed by Negan. And then we cut to the intro. After Negan drags Rick into the RV, he tells Rick that he has no high ground and no resource, and he is impressed that Rick still had the guts to threaten him. And Negan slowly, of course, puts Rick's axe on the table, and he slowly drives the RV. He tells Rick that if Rick wanted to kill him so bad, he tells Rick to go ahead and grab the axe and bash his head off, just like what he did to his friends. Rick grabs the axe and he runs at Negan, but Negan kicks Rick before he can act out. Negan tells Rick that he is powerless. He has no more weapons and his group just got smaller. Negan says that uh, everything that Rick owns and everything that they find all belongs to the Saviors now. Negan grabs Rick's axe and he tells Rick that it's his axe now. And Negan opens the door and he throws the axe and he tells Rick, go grab the axe for him. Rick just sits there and he refuses. Rick just sits there, and Negan just keeps telling him over and over again for another 20 straight seconds. Negan has reached his limit, so therefore, he just grabs Rick and he throws him outside and he yells, give me my axe or else you're gonna see another one of your friends' head bashed onto the floor, and one of them can also be your son. Therefore, the moment Rick got thrown outside, Rick panics when he hears that Negan just said that Carl can potentially be bashed in the head. Rick panics and he finally listens to Negan and he tries his best to find the axe. Rick is over here running around trying to find the axe, and it's really foggy and there are also a lot of walkers. Rick is surrounded and he has no clue where he's going because of how foggy it is. Rick is surrounded by walkers, so he climbs on top of the RV and he just lays there, and Negan tells Rick that he has 15 minutes to find the axe or else he'll kill another person. Negan says, I know. It's an emotional time for you, Rick. But you gotta remember, actions have consequences. If you want to know what can happen to you or your friends, think about what just happened earlier and think about what can still happen. If you want to know what can happen next, think about what just happened to your buddies. That leads to the conclusion of what that has us thinking, who just died by Negan. We cut to a flashback where Negan does his eeny, meeny, miny, mo. We follow Rick's POV. We follow Rick's point of view. I think this point of view was brilliant in the show, so I'm gonna keep it in my version. And the music gets all tensed up, and Rick is just absolutely shaken up. We see the mystery by showing all the people in the lineup. Negan does his eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and we show everyone. It cuts to a close shot up to everyone's face. The tensions are up. It's getting much more intense. Negan is pointing his bat at everyone. And then we see that Abraham is the one who Negan chooses. Negan tells everyone that if anybody moves, there's going to be consequences. Therefore, Negan says his words to Abraham, and then boom, straight there Negan bashes Abraham in the head. Abraham's last words are just like what he said in the show. Abraham's last words are, "Suck my fucking nuts." Then Negan continues to bash Abraham in the head over and over again. Negan taunts Abraham by saying, "Man, you are red, man. Now you will always forever be red. You just took over 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 hits for the team." Negan swings his bat so that the blood can splatter to Rick's face. Negan taunts Rick about what he just did to Abraham. Rick is in shock and he's just shaken up. Negan goes around showing the blood to everyone, and he tells them that Abraham is the hero of the night because he just took multiple hits for the team. Negan walks around everyone and he sees that everyone is just scared for their lives. And therefore, Negan walks to Daryl. Negan sees that Daryl is showing no emotions to Abraham's death. So Negan walks up to Daryl and Negan says, "Wow, man. After all I just did to your buddy there, you still have that bitch look on your face. At least cry a little for your boy. He just took hits just so you can survive and live to see another day." Negan continues to taunt Daryl over and over again, and therefore, Daryl gets up and he punches Negan in the fucking face. A fucking knockout. Well, he didn't knock Negan out, but he punches Negan. Simon, Dwight, and some other saviors tackles Daryl, and Daryl still tries to fight back. Rick gets up and he yells, "Daryl, enough!" Negan gets up and he yells at Rick to sit back down. The saviors continues to beat up Daryl, but Negan tells them to stop, and Negan tells Daryl, "That is a no-no. I already told you that if any one of you gets up and tries to do something stupid like that, then I'll shut that shit down with no remorse." Negan tells Rick that he understands that Daryl is his boy. He tells Rick that Rick won't be punished for this action because he gets that Rick is the leader and he just doesn't want to see his boy get beat up. But Negan looks down on Daryl and he says, "What you just did was real stupid. Now the punishment is gonna be so much worse now, man." Daryl is badly beaten up and he looks at Rick. And this gives Rick a flashback about what happened in season 4 when they were attacked by the Claimers. This is a parallel. It's a flashback where Rick gets a flashback about when they were ambushed by the Claimers. When Rick bit that one guy in the neck, we see that during this flashback, Rick managed to fight back. But now in the present day, when we're fighting Negan, Rick is now powerless and he is no longer able to fight back anymore. And Rick is just powerless. He can't do anything anymore. All he can do is just stay down and just watch. Negan tells everyone that Daryl just made everything much worse. And basically, Negan already said that if anyone tried something stupid, he will shut things down. Rick looks at everyone in the lineup and he is even more shaken up now because he realizes that Negan is gonna pick someone else to bash now. Negan continues to give his speech. Then he tells Daryl to sit up, and Daryl doesn't listen to Negan, and Negan is just absolutely angry at Daryl. Then Negan tells Dwight to grab Daryl and sit Daryl up and face Daryl towards Glenn. Daryl faces Glenn. Negan forces Daryl to look at Glenn. Now everyone is nervous. As Daryl faces Glenn, Negan slowly walks up to Glenn and he bashes Glenn to the head right when Daryl is looking at Glenn. Glenn is bleeding out of his head. Everyone is in shock, and Negan continues to mock Glenn by saying, "Oh my lord, I just smashed your head so hard with Lucille, and your eyeball just popped out, and it is gross as shit." Maggie is crying nonstop as she looks at Glenn, and Glenn says to Maggie, "Maggie, I'll find you." Negan looks at everyone and he says, "I understand that this is an emotional moment to watch. You just saw the red man get bashed, and now you get to see another friend get bashed. But I did say that if one of you tried something stupid, the consequences will be worse." After Negan tells them that the consequences is worse now, he looks at Daryl and Negan says to Daryl, "This is all you, buddy." Then Negan continues to bash Glenn over and over to the point where Glenn is just headless now. Everyone is crying, especially Rick, Daryl, and Maggie. While Negan is bashing Glenn in the head, Negan says, "Lucille is a vampire bat." After Negan gets done bashing Glenn, he walks up to Rick and he says, "Wow, was the joke that bad?" And then we cut back to Rick on top of the RV. As we cut back to Rick on top of the RV, Negan tells Rick, this is what Negan says to Rick. Negan says, "Actions have consequences, Rick. People die in this world, and that's something you just gotta accept and live with. Now give me my axe." Negan starts to shoot the RV, and Rick panics. Rick gets up and he jumps off the RV, and Negan opens the window and he says, "Clock's ticking, Rick. Think about what can still happen to your friends." Rick panics even more. Rick runs around looking for the axe. When he eventually finds the axe, he kills dozens of walkers with it. Then he finally enters the RV and he gives Negan the axe. Negan says, "That's my boy. There you go. That wasn't so difficult, wasn't it?" Negan drives back and he throws Rick in front of the whole lineup and he yells, "Look everybody, the sun is out. Welcome to a brand new day, you sorry little shits. Your leader Rick here, he killed multiple walkers just to make sure I don't kill another one of you. Ain't that right, Rick?" Negan looks at Rick and Rick is still giving Negan that intimidating mad look. Negan says, "Come on, Rick. I thought we were friends." Negan talks about how he doesn't like the way how Rick is acting. So he grabs Carl and he tells Carl to lay down on his stomach and he tells Carl to reach his arm out. Negan tells Simon, "Do you have a pen?" Negan asks Simon for a pen and Simon says, "Of course I have a pen." Negan draws a line on Carl and he gives Rick his axe and he tells Rick, "I want you to give your boy a tiny little chop chop." Rick starts to break down and he panics. He tells Negan, "No, it can't be him. He didn't do anything. It's gotta be me, not him. It can't be me." Negan yells, "Just do it." Rick continues to break down and he screams. He says, "No, no, 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 no. It can't be me. It can't be me. Carl tells Rick to just do it, and Carl says that it's okay. Rick slowly raises his axe, and he's just screaming, yelling with full emotions. Negan is laughing at Rick because he can finally see the emotional side of Rick Grimes. Negan grabs the axe and he says, "Fine, Rick, you win." Negan tells Rick to repeat the words that he says. Negan tells Rick to repeat, "You work for me, and you are my resource now." He tells Rick to say that he works for him now, and everything they do will belong to the Saviors now. Rick agrees to this, and Negan says, "Good boy." Negan gives his speech about how the Saviors rule now, and everything they own, everything they have. Negan tells Rick that he's gonna take Daryl now, and he tells Rick that if Rick tries to do anything to take back Daryl, he will bring Daryl to Rick and make Rick bash Daryl's head, just like what he did to Glenn and Abraham. Negan says to the Saviors, he tells them to put Daryl in the van. He says, "Put that little bitch in the van." Negan looks at Rick and says, "I'm gonna take him now. He's my boy now." And of course, Negan says, "I'm gonna take him now. This little shit," what was his name again? Simon says, "Daryl. Daryl is his name." Negan says, "Holy shit. That is the most hillbilly name I've ever heard. No wonder why he has that sweet little redneck attitude." Rick looks at Daryl as Daryl gets loaded into the van. Negan says, "Like I said, Rick, Daryl is my boy now, and you are also my boy now. Welcome to the next world, Rick." Negan drops Rick's axe, and the Saviors all drive away and they leave. Negan tells Rick that everything they do will now always be the Saviors. Rick and the group just sits there for 10 straight minutes without even talking. Maggie lays down next to Glenn's corpse and cries. The group gets up and mourns the death of their fallen members, Abraham Ford and Glenn Rhee. Maggie says, "We have to fight. We have to get ready. We have to fight now." Rick says, "We can't. We can't lose any more of people." The group just continues to mourn and carry the bodies, and Maggie refuses to get in the RV, and Maggie says that she wants to just get to the hilltop because she's not feeling well. We see Rick think about a montage of what life could have been if they never met the Saviors. Maggie refuses to get in the RV. She wants to walk to the hilltop, but Michonne tells her that she is weak and she can't walk to the hilltop. Maggie tells her that she doesn't want Maggie to walk alone. Sasha says she'll walk with Maggie. As the group gets back into the RV, Rick drives away and he cries continuously as he just steps on the pedal. As he looks at the walker who is eating Glenn's remains, we see Rick in tears. Rick is just crying. Rick looks at Michonne and Carl, and Rick says, "Glenn saved me from the start, and I couldn't save him." And the episode ends right there. That is the ending of Season 7, Episode 1. The day will come when you won't be. See me next on Season 7, Episode 2, titled The Cell and the Well. Peace out.